Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm joined by Greg Parent. My name is Nigel Wright. We're both mediators with Miles Mediation and Arbitration based in Atlanta. And we do a series of very short webinars, podcasts, talking about issues which are important for a successful mediation. So today we're going to be talking about, is hard work important? We're not talking about on the lawyer's part. What we're talking about is whether the mediator's work ethic makes a difference in the outcome of a case. Greg, I know you've got some views on this, so I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Nigel. It's good to see you. I think mediators have to show that they're working hard in a number of ways. You have to let the parties in each room know the ideas that you're coming up with and sharing in the other room, so that even if your recommendations don't work and it does not ultimately lead to resolution, they've seen the 5 or 6 things that you've tried exhaustively to build a bridge and a connection towards resolution. The other thing that's important about hard work is to show sort of an indefatigable spirit when it comes to options to keep going. If a case is going to impasse, you can't ultimately prevent that from happening, but you can show that, hey, now that we're going to reach an impasse, these are some steps I would leave with to think about for the future, 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C, and leave those in both rooms and make yourself available. Follow up with them periodically, maybe 3 or 4 days after the mediation, a week or 2 after the mediation, and let them know that it's not only on your front burner, it's something that you're willing to be an active liaison with for purposes of moving forward until they do reach resolution.
Those are great points. But I guess my question is that if you're in a mediation and you feel like the mediator is just shuffling offers and counter offers backwards and forwards, what is something that you can do as a party to try and break that dynamic?
What I do is ask them questions about why they're going where they're going. I try and understand their motivations and not just the number that they give me when they kick me out of the room to talk and bring me back in. I tell them that I'm either a journalist or a whiny 5-year-old, but I'll go why all day long until I better understand where they're coming from so that I can help them see things based on what I'm seeing in the other room. And I stress to them, I don't know more than they do. I'm not better or smarter than they are, but I'm in the other room. And sometimes a better understanding, letting me behind the curtain, letting me see what levers they're actually trying to pull will help me get a better understanding of how to shape their message in the other room. And I think when you show that level of care and that level of interest and that level of willingness to participate, people see that you're engaged, people see that you're working hard.
I mean, those are great points. I mean, my own personal experience is that the mediators I liked working with when I was in private practice, they were all passionate in trying to reach a resolution. And the ones I didn't like were the ones that didn't really show any kind of emotion. Do you show any emotion when you're mediating?
Absolutely, I show emotion, but not in an emotional way, but I act and respond like a human. I'll give you an example. I had one where there were allegations of abuse to a child. And I remember talking in the plaintiff's room and saying, I don't know how you have the grace to be here calmly in a relatively professional manner dealing with this, because I think I would lose my mind. And I think when you share with them that you're human beyond the coat, we're normally wearing a tie, that you're a human being who sees this the same way, it builds a connection. In that same case, when I was in the defense room, I said, if this had happened to my child, I would have burned that building down. And I know that seems very aggressive, but it also lets them know we're not dealing with a fine matter of law here. We're dealing with real people and real emotions, and you have to be very careful here. And I think that helped everyone sort of get grounded on the reason why we're here. And I think that's our role as a mediator. You do this very well, Nigel, I'm sure, and everything you do with the international work that you do, where you have to show both a command of the information, an understanding of the law, but the biggest part we can help with, I think, is the emotional connectivity that we have by being in the other room. I know you're a big proponent of emotional intelligence, and we will talk about that in upcoming fireside chats, but that's how I show my engagement and my care. You have to let them understand that you do care, and once they understand and appreciate that you do care, they're more receptive to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Greg. I think it really goes to the issue of hard work as well, because you can't form a relationship with somebody in a vacuum. So you have to spend time, you have to make an effort. So I think what our takeaway from today is, if you're going to be in a mediation, work with your mediator. If they're not prepared to work with you or they're not working with you, remember that. You have a choice in who you choose. Obviously, Greg is recognized as one of the leading mediators in Georgia, and there's a good reason for that. He has an innate skill in managing to make connections with people. But I also think that part of that is hard work. It's not something that we all do naturally, or maybe I don't do it naturally. Greg probably does. But it is something that we will have to be conscious with. And Greg, if I can just leave the final comments with you, in terms of how hard work makes a difference in a mediation coming from the mediator, what would be the number one thing that you would say?
You have to show that you've tried everything in your arsenal, whether it's mediator tricks, whether it's the relationships you have with the parties before we came in there, whether you've parlayed the insights you developed over the day into making sure you've exhausted every possible opportunity. People see that and appreciate it, but sometimes you have to remind them and tell them what you're doing. Real quickly, what I do, if I'm kicked out of one room while they're caucusing, I'll go to the other room. During Zoom, during this COVID pandemic, I'll click into the other room and I'll say, hey, I went to Nigel's room. I've talked to their clients. I covered what you said about 1, 2, 3 and XYZ. But I also shared with them a little bit of LMNOPQ, because although we talked about it and you didn't think it was necessarily an important issue at this time, I realized it was the right time to do it. So I called an audible and talked about those things. They're chewing that up right now. I don't know what they'll do with it. I don't know if they'll give it the same respect and importance that you guys have placed on it, but that's what I've done right now. And what happens when I do that, Nigel, is they see that I didn't just walk over there, slam down a sheet of paper that said, do you like me? Yes, no, maybe. I've actually thought about things. I've synthesized what they prepared me for. And I know we'll get into this on later talks about preparation and the things that they want you to see and do. But I've shown a command of everything they shared with me, everything I've learned, and I've tried to reformulate it. And that's our role. Our role is to become exhaustive reformulators of the information to try and make sure there isn't a connection there.
Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigel. Good to see you.